Today we're going to flush out all the hydraulic fluids out of this bike, front brake, back brake, and clutch. The rear brake appears to be seized. We'll have to take a look at that. Most of this fluid looks like it's been in there for 40 years. Maybe not the clutch. It still looks old, but it looks like somebody might have put a clutch slave cylinder in at one time. So let's take a look and see what we can come up with. Okay, so the first thing that I noticed was that there is seepage around both of the master cylinders. So we're going to sand down these tops. They're a little bit corroded. We're going to sand down the tops and we're going to sand down the master cylinders themselves. Try to get a nice smooth edge for that rubber seal to grab again. So I left the fluid in there while I was doing this. So if I had any debris, it would get caught in the fluid and not into the master cylinder itself. So once we got a nice edge on all that, we'll go ahead and we're going to vacuum flush. I'm going to start with the clutch cylinder. So we'll dab any little bit of debris that was in there, and then we'll go ahead and fill this thing out, vacuum it out, vacuum it out, and vacuum it out, right? We're just going to keep filling and emptying, filling and emptying until we've got good, clear fluid running through the system. So I've opened up the bleeder, I've pulled the vacuum on it, we've sucked it through at least 4 times. So now we can shut the bleeder, we can clean it all back up, and now the clutch is done. Like I said earlier, I think somebody has put a clutch slave cylinder in there because it looked like it had leaked, but it is not leaking now. So the next thing we're going to do is move over to the front brakes, and the front brake is really in bad shape. That looks like mud inside there. Now this bike hasn't run in probably at least 5 years. I know the guy that owned it before me said it sat in his garage for 4 years. So and he bought it from another guy that wasn't running. So the fluid's very old. So we'll go ahead and we'll pull all that fluid out of there. We'll get that fluid all cleaned up. We'll get all the muck that's down at the bottom. I'll get a pick tool in there and try to clean it out with a pick tool because there's kind of like a sludge. And then I'll also pull on the handle a little bit and poke in both of the return holes and make sure that I don't have any clogs in there. We'll spray it with a little brake clean, get that all cleaned up. And then once we get it all cleaned up, we've vacuumed it almost dry. So we'll get it cleaned up. We'll fill it up with new fluid. We'll do that about 4 times. And we'll do that on the right side. Now we'll do the master cylinder, the brake going down, the brake hose going down to the splitter, and then down to the right side. So once we get that all done, then we can go ahead and move over to the other side. But the first side that you start with is going to take a little bit more time because you're basically bleeding the master cylinder and 2 brake hoses, where once we get to the other side, we'll only have that 1 brake hose and the caliper left. Um, so I've got this one pretty much done, all cleaned up and seems good. Now, you're watching this in fast forward. When you see me squeezing on that brake handle, I am doing that extremely slowly. If you don't do it slowly, you'll build like a volcano inside there and the brake fluid will spray everywhere. So be very careful of that. Right. So once we've got that all bled, we'll close that bleeder up. Now I can go to the other side of the caliper and we'll do that caliper. And this one shouldn't take quite as long because, like I said, we've already bled the master cylinder in 2 out of 3 of the lines. So we'll run a couple things of brake fluid through this. And then once we get that taken care of, now our front brakes are going to be done. We can go ahead and put the caps on that, lock this thing down. And now we'll have the clutch done and the front brake done. Now we can go ahead and move to the back brakes. So I got to the back brakes, and like I said, I bought this bike and it's never been run before, or never run since I've had it anyway. So when I first started pumping on the brake, I never even realized that the back brakes were like seized up. I mean, the wheel spins, but the brake pedal didn't want to go down. So at first I thought, oh man, I got a master cylinder that's stuck. But then I realized, oh no, that it's the linkage that goes through the bike. So I got a little bit of um, spray out and lubricated it up real good. Got some liquid wrench out there and then started pumping it up and down, up and down. Finally got the thing to kind of break free. And once I got that to break free and the pedal to go up and down freely, then I could go back to my bleeding. Now you'll notice that even though I'm vacuum bleeding, I'm always pushing the pedal. And the reason that I push the pedal or pull on a lever when I'm bleeding like this is to make sure that if there's any scum in the brake system, that when I push the pedal or pull on the lever, I push that through as bleeding it, because I see a lot of guys that'll just bleed it and never touch the pedal. Well, if there's scum on the other side of that seal and you're not pushing the seal through it, then you could have problems down the road. Now, some people will say, oh, well, that could make the seal go bad later. That's a possibility, but if that's the case, I want it to go bad now. Hey, well, thank you so much for watching this video. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot more on this bike, so if you could like and subscribe. Next thing I'm going to do is carburetors, I believe, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a great day.